Morning all. Just full disclosure, this is not my natural environment. So if I do make a blooper, it is part of the plan. So please giggle away and then hopefully it creates some joy. But thank you for having me here today. My name is Dylan Oglivie. I work for a company called Melchor Contracting. We are a civil construction business in the Western Australian construction and mining business. We're now part of the Monadelphous family, and I'm extremely grateful to talk to you today about a subject I'm extremely passionate about that affects all of us. It was important to me to start with the why and why we do the things that we do. I've skipped ahead there, but those three numbers up there, I wanted to highlight the three numbers up there because as numbers, they just, they're numbers. But once we put some words around it, it provides some context. So 9 people a day die by suicide in Australia. 190 people per year in the construction industry die by suicide. That's 1 every second day. So as we stand here today, that's 1 yesterday, 1 tomorrow. What day is it today? Tuesday, 1 Thursday, 1 and a couple on the weekend. Another thing I wanted to highlight. Sorry, my clicker's not working. Females attempt suicide 3 times more as males. So I think that's an important thing to highlight, that although suicide is the biggest killer of males between the age of 20 and 45, our female colleagues attempt suicide 3 times more. So as an industry, as we diversify and we welcome more women and the skill set into the industry that they can for us, 3 times more of our colleagues are making an attempt on their life. So if you're comfortable, I guess, I just want to ask a couple of questions to get some participation, and we will take the presentation up a notch after this. But if you're comfortable, could I get a show of hands of people that have been directly impacted by suicide in the room? Can you keep your hands up? And then if you're comfortable, would you mind raising your hand if you know someone that has been impacted by suicide in the room? So if you look around the room, it's not just a construction industry problem, and it's not just a community problem. It affects all of us, and we've got to be better at helping to fix that. So look, we have just spoken about suicide. I think another thing I'd like to touch on, could I get a show of hands of anyone that's completed mental health first aid training and suicide prevention training? So I think if you had have done that 4 or 5 years ago, there'd be no one in the room. So there is help in the room. So if this conversation does bring up anything, please reach out to one of us to help. Our why was driven by the fact that, unfortunately, around 10 years ago, we lost 3 workmates to suicide in 18 months for 3 very different reasons. One was financial problems, one was drugs problems, and the other one was relationship problems. So Tom, Richard and Clint are no longer here, but it was time to change. And myself, our company and our industry, we wanted to prioritise mental health and employees' wellbeing. But this is not just about me or a really bad story that something's happened 3 times in my life. As we just saw with a show of hands in the room, it affects every age group, every gender, every social standing, and every postcode, but the construction industry seems to be overrepresented. I've been working in the civil construction industry in Western Australia for 20 years, through roles as a carpenter. I'm a carpenter by trade, operations manager, supervisor, and now general manager, operations manager again. Those lists of common issues there is every part of my day as a manager. Alcohol, drugs, bullying, child custody matters is something that I reckon every second week I'm actively talking to one of our employees about. Financial strain, online gambling, all those things for us are water off a duck's back. But I think it's really important to highlight those because a lot of people zero in on alcohol, the drugs, the big ticket items that cause problems. But we work in a state, like someone reached on before, that is heavily driven by FIFO work, DIDO work, and loneliness and stress and away from families. So bear with me while I pinched a couple of notes. So there was a couple of things I wanted to get back down. So firstly, we're an industry full of blokes right through from young apprentices up. We're not great at asking for help or talking about our state of mind. We're also not great at reading signs and knowing what to do. We often hear about alcohol or drug issues, but it's not as easily picked up about loneliness, separation from family, or the one that's really become recent with our workforce is the loss of identity towards retirement. We have a casualised workforce where even though you might work for a company for a long time, you still don't have the stability, certainty, and peace of mind. And we all know that that's not good. And the construction industry requires on long hours. It's not a 9-to-5 job. These guys could be spending 80 hours on the job, and they're all hours away from family, friends. So we need to have better opportunities to pick up these signs. It's easy to say that the problems are at home, or he drank too much in his own time, or she was under pressure in other areas of her life, but that just wasn't a cop-out, and that wasn't good enough. So as part of Melchor's growth and addressing the important issue of providing a better mental health and emotional wellbeing workplace, it was important for us to foster a workplace culture that was authentic and empathetic. We wanted to create a space where individuals could truly thrive. So we've launched several creative initiatives designed not just for our teams, but we invite the entire industry to come together and support. So today, I'm going to share a couple with you that hopefully reflect our approach to raising awareness and fostering open, constructive conversations and providing support around mental health. The first one is the talking trowel. For those of you that don't know or do know, a trowel machine, a concrete trowel machine is something that you use to finish concrete. It's something we use every day. It's a skill set to use. I often tell people I can still use a trowel machine. I probably wouldn't be able to start a trowel machine these days, but it's one of those things that we look at every day and we have to use and do. So we took the idea that we wanted to create a symbol, we wanted to create a hub, and we came up in line with the Blue Tree project. We came up with our talking trowels. The talking trowels is really our conduit or our hub for help. Its purpose was to create conversations and provided easy access to support. The main aspect of the start of the talking trowel was to provide not the tokenistic symbol, but to provide that hub of everything that we do. I find a lot of organisations have a number of ideas and a number of different, but we wanted to channel something together and bring it together of everything that we were doing was centralised around our talking trowel. There is a QR code up there. Feel free to scan, share, gives you an introduction, but more importantly, it links our employees to some help that we developed with Mates in Construction around how you ask for help, how you ask your mate for help, and if it has hit the fan, how do you respond when that person asks for help? Those resources are very simple, but they're bloody effective, and we know that they work because I've had 65-year-old tradesmen that told me had they have had this information 20 years ago, one of their mates would still be here, and he's carried that for 20 years. So we are making a difference in that space. Is something as simple of painting a trowel blue. Off the back of developing the talking trowel, that led us to work with our workforce to create a commitment to what the talking trowel stood for the next couple of years. Which led us to our commitment for better mental health in the workplace. And we landed on 4 meaningful actions as a business. First of all, we wanted to understand. We wanted to understand what we were doing well, but we also wanted to understand what we needed to improve on. We recently undertook the People at Work construction survey, which is developed by the Griffith University in New South Wales. And the PAW survey measures some of the common psychosocial hazards and factors associated with job demands and job resources. I'm pleased to share that we actually had 70% of our workforce complete the survey over a 3-week period. And feedback from the research team is that they average 30 to 40% uptake. So we achieved a significant extra coverage, and we're currently reviewing our results and implementing our actions with our workforce. Our second pillar was creating awareness. We wanted to create more awareness, and we created this through branded PPE to spark conversations with consistent branding across all of our resources. And going back to that part about the talking trowel, to be the hub to create conversations. Again, it may sound simple, it may sound silly, but the amount of people that sit there and now point out and go, what's that talking trowel? And it creates a conversation of what we're trying to achieve. Our third pillar was to provide training. As part of our association with Mates WA, we committed to training 100% of our workforce in general awareness training, for our on-site workers and office-based workers, focusing on mental health awareness and suicide prevention. We have now extended our commitment to train all employees who register interest in further Mates training to complete that within 6 months. That includes connected training of how to get someone to a person that can help, assist training, which gets someone to suicide prevention. There's also now supervisor training, which provides psychosocial help and support for the supervisors, because I think they're often the forgotten people in this environment. They're the front liners, and they're expected to build your job and build your people. Respond training, which would have been incredible 10 years ago for me when we had our first suicide. And then the other one is the apprentice resilience training. And our last pillar was to give recognition. We got here through a negative tone, but it was important for us to create recognition of the good work that our people are doing. We created a Talking Trowel Champion, which has really sparked some conversation on our remote sites, particularly around, if you can believe, all of our steel fixers are now doing a running club. They've started up a book club, some other different pieces that we wanted to encourage people to do something different than the stereotypical drink. I'm not quite sure what books they're reading, but they assure me that they've started a book club. So the second big initiative that's had a massive impact on our business and our culture was we started a 100-day fundraiser for Mates in Construction 7 years ago called Dry Spell for Mates. A good friend of mine, Kent Millington, and I wanted to have 100 days off the booze, see what we could do, because although there's some fantastic 1 month challenges, when you say 100 days, it's a pretty big challenge. And I've had some pretty smart people tell me they could do 3 months, but not 100 days, which doesn't quite compute in my head. I'm hand up to say I haven't had a beer for 4.5 years now after doing Dry Spell, and it's had one of the biggest cultural impacts on our business as I've seen, and it's created those conversations of guys that have had drinks for 30 years that have now gone and done Dry Spell and had time off. So the couple of things to touch on the impact of Dry Spell, it's raised nearly $500,000 for Mates in Construction. We've had 745 people completed over the last 7 years. But one of the ones that I think I find most powerful is that 2,600 people that are now aware of Mates in Construction, suicide prevention and suicide help. But I think the testimonials up there of what we're achieving and what we're trying to do, and at the end of the day, how we're trying to create a better environment for our workers, our workforce, and take that back into the community, speak for themselves. I'm going to finish on a note to share, because I know we're time to get up into the panel question. We are all here today as we want to make a difference in our workplaces and community. So I encourage you all to continue to learn, but most importantly, be kind and understanding to yourself and others. I'd like to finish with a quote from the Western Australian and Chris Judd after Adam Selwood's death earlier this year. "We are so hard on ourselves as men. Be a great dad, a great husband, friend, son, and employee. Push yourself as hard as possible to earn as much as possible, a bigger house and a better car." Off-field, Adam's personality blended a hard edge with kindness and compassion, a kindness he gave to everyone else but himself.
Give yourself a break and remember, you and yourself are on the same team. I sincerely hope the Talking Trowel encourages people to speak about mental health conditions without fear and to reach out for help when they need it. Even if you're not exactly sure of what help is, or what help looks like right now, just start a conversation. Let's all pledge to listen with an open mind and to be there for our colleagues. Thank you very much.